Welcome to episode 12, our season finale of All About Design. I'm joined as often by my fabulous co-host Debs. And today we're taking a look back at the highlights from the past 6 months. We'll revisit some of the most exciting design ideas, unexpected gems, and some brilliant tips and tricks that you may want to go back and catch again. We've had an incredible season. We've unpacked many layers of thoughtful, intentional design, from space planning and colour theory, hunting for treasure in antique shops, taming clutter, and even bringing nature into our interiors. And we'll share some of our current projects and recent wins to hopefully spark ideas for your own spaces. It all kicked off back in episode 1 when I revealed why I believe interior design is a superpower, because it does have a huge impact on how we feel, doesn't it, Debs?
Absolutely. I think it's what we started with that because it is something that's so integral, so important to design. And it's something that's not quite understood, but makes all the difference to how successful your interior is. And it's something that can't be ignored. So for us, that's why we started with that one, because it's so important. And it's up there with space planning. So
The overall encompassing thing of why I thought superpower is a good way of describing it is because of the effect it has on your mental health and well-being, and words that are bandied around a lot in today's world, and they are super important, and it's very easy to jump on that bandwagon. But I do honestly believe that if you make a space around you that speaks to you and is all about you, define your personal style, but if you surround yourself with things you love, things that make you happy, and your family, there's a superpower.
when you think of that psychology side of things, everything we're going to talk about today comes back to that. It's how it makes you feel, how the environment affects you. And so it is everything, I think. Like you said, the superpower, it comes back to everything, because you can have a really nice formulated interior, but it just doesn't work for you. And that's where I think that the rules that we have, like this, the 60-30-10 rule, that's because it makes harmony. And so it's really funny how everything sort of comes back to it. Layouts comes back to the feeling, because you get a feeling of balance, or you need misbalance because you've got architectural features. So there's all that feeling in it that is so important. So I think you're right, though, because recently everybody's become aware of emotions and how things stress us and how things affect us and how things make us calm. But it's a trickle effect. So now we're realizing the value of it in lots of different industries and how it can help to create the best outcome.
And I think now we don't think it's being a little bit self-absorbed to try and look after ourselves. I think there was a case, wasn't there, before of, just get on with it. You'll be fine. Yeah, stop complaining.
Stiff upper lip, wasn't it? That
Very
kind of
much
thing.
so. And I think we all live these incredibly busy lives that pull us in so many different directions. When you go in the front door, you need to be able to shut that and just go, thank God I'm home. And and then that healing time begins. So it is a superpower. And I stand by that completely.
Absolutely. Because you remember back, I don't know about you, I had family members older, much older, and he'd be like, pick a colour for a room and that's it. There was no real thought about how they connected to a room. It was a very simple kind of idea. Even if you think about how many colours are out there, because colour affects your mood. You're kind of bombarded by colour at the moment. But there was a time where you'd walk into a shop and I think they had brown paint, maybe beige paint. You got blue, you're lucky. Yeah. And it was just, we've all been cocooned in magnolia at some point in our lives. And I wonder if it's a reflection of us understanding ourselves a bit more, that we realise we need every colour. We need all these things. We need all these textures. We need excitement in our homes. I suppose do you reckon COVID maybe helped with that? Because we've got time to stop and look and think.
Yeah.
Because we don't, do we? Like you said, we have busy lives. And we stopped and went, do you know what? I have no idea whose house this is.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, when I've had jobs where you sort of out the house at 8 a.m. after having got up in the dark, had your breakfast and gone. You walk in at 6:30 at night, have dinner, claps in front of the TV, and then you're up again and out. And then COVID just stopped everyone in their tracks. And you sat at home and thought, actually, this doesn't work for me or the family. The room layouts aren't working. Actually, I don't even like that colour, So I think that was a massive full stop for a lot of people. I definitely saw it. We were working together back then. Now people are a little bit more open to just going a bit crazy and colour schemes, because it's like, you only live once. Come on, guys, you know.
I think people have got a freedom and
Yeah.
also a knowledge now, because of obviously things like interior magazines and interior programs. Everyone's realised that you don't have to just have a bog standard house. It's about identity and personality, which is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So that was episode 1. We talked about so many different things there, which, as you say, everything is interlinked throughout the 11 episodes. But go back and have a listen to that one, because it's a really good introduction to everything we've talked about. Now, in episode 2, this was talking about finding treasure. Debs's slight obsession with visiting.
Really?
Yeah, you've had some therapy, but, you know, visiting charity shops, auction houses, and in fact, the things you've got, as we said at the time, absolutely incredible. And it's about how to think about the things in your home and upscale or consider moving on. But I'll leave this one over to you, Debs, to talk a little bit more about.
For me, it's always had a kind of a glee in finding something secondhand, because it's just this kind of treasure, like you said, treasure hunting. There must be some sort of endorphin or something happening
Definitely.
there. But I think it's not just me, it's taken off big time. So people have realized the value that a lot of these older pieces have, because they're made differently. They're made from woods that we just don't have now. It's an appreciation. I think we've gone through that kind of everything has to be simplistic and new. I saw an article recently, actually. Everyone's looking at more kind of like cozy and colours. And obviously we've talked about this in one of the episodes. Grey is kind of been pushed.
Gone. Yeah.
Gone. It's
Especially
like a
in the UK.
season. We're in the more cozy season of colours. So for me, I just think, yeah, absolutely, get out there. You're helping the environment. You're having a great time searching for it. The things that you can find are just amazingly unique as well. Again, about your identity and understanding why I like that. If you have an older house or you want to, reinstate historical features, it's all out there. And obviously the internet helps with all these things, because we can research. And I've said before, the sale room's a great one. So you can go on and see multiple houses. It's, it's much easier probably to access.
You don't have to travel, do you? You don't have to travel to an actual auction house if you don't want to.
You can just put a proxy bid in and leave it, and don't go beyond your limit. Charity shopping, I love. It's funny because I used to charity shop when I was younger, and it was almost seen as a negative to go to the charity shops.
You're brilliant with all that side of things. It's the same with furniture or some of the lighting as well. The scale of it that you can find is incredible.
And like you were saying, it's the quality of the item. You could buy it new and it would be, just glass, whatever. You could get 6 crystal glasses for less, and you're helping a charity.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly that people haven't done it before when you look at it. But I think there is that freedom now in interiors and making it eclectic, making it yours. Yeah. Actually, I don't want anyone going charity shopping, because I just want to go on my own.
Well, so episode 2 was packed absolutely full of your experience and the things that you were able to bring to it. So it's not something I've personally done, but if you're interested in exploring that world, so how to minimize your transport costs, all the things you need to think about, the quality, getting it checked properly for, what was it, the foxing or
yes, that's on artwork, because if you have that, then it's, you have to be realistic as much as you like it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not everything's a find. Most auction houses do give you reports if you email them.
Yeah.
And they're very forthcoming with information.
So check out episode 2. So much information in there. It might be useful if you're going to start looking at that. But have a go, even if it's a tiny, small thing. The other day I was with my son who's looking for a Morse code key, and we were in a antique shop. But they have these banks of crystal glasses and vases and everything, which is my Achilles heel. And I came away with 6 crystal goblets that were, I think, about a third of the price if I'd bought them new. So many positive aspects of going and having a look at these auction houses. But in episode 3, I talked to architect Nicola Hopwood, deep into discussion on the do's and don'ts of planning your projects. So whether it's a new build from scratch or adding on to your existing home, she gave such knowledge, which gives us power, doesn't it, in making decisions. So you need to listen to her wise words if you're planning something like this. And it's all about vistas and sight lines and incorporating really thoughtful architectural thinking into your plan. Work it through till you get it right. And we were also discussing about how it's really good to bring an interior designer in at that stage to catch things, isn't it, Debs?
Gosh. Yes. When we get projects and it's a case of you'll come in towards the end, no, thank you, I'd like to see the plans first, because
Yeah.
there's always things, isn't there, that as much as architects very much they're on the ball with the interiors as well, but it's just plug sockets, it's furniture and layout, all these things that if you just tweak that in the plan, you've got space to fit your furniture in. Or
Definitely.
bathrooms, they're like, yes, I'm going to have a standalone bath and a shower.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not going to fit in there. So it's not the architect's fault.
It's things like door swings, isn't it? Like you say, plug sockets, which side of the door the light switches on. And also things that are new into the world of architectural design. And when you have like a corner window, which is all very well, but how are you going to dress it? How are you going to draw the curtains? Where is your furniture going? If you've taken up all the walls with windows, those are the things, aren't they?
There is a big joining between the interiors and, you know, the architect. So getting those people together, because they're, you know, we can add to it. We can concentrate on that side of things, knowing that we're going to have lamps there. We're going to have TVs and hide socket. You know, there's so much.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
It's,
Well, it's
it's
also, sorry, go on.
sorry, it's just like fine tweaking points that it can be down to like 50 centimeters makes a difference. And you just
Massively.
think,
Yeah.
it's a knock-on effect. It's like a domino effect to the whole design. We've had it, haven't we, where people are like, I want a Super King, and we're like, well, you can't fit furniture in with it because of the window, but you could have moved that. And you know, but that kind of just little tweaks.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And if your wish list for your project is the whole reason to do it, and then you end up not being able to achieve that just because we didn't get in and say, well, let's reinforce that floor, or where's your window, or then you've not achieved what you set out to do. So what I find as an interior designer, when we've worked on these sort of projects where you have a whole house and you look at the plans early on, and you can just suggest things, and then we go away again and stage of it's on in the build, and we can go and have another little poke around and go, do we just move that plug socket, or do you want to raise that windowsill or that door swing the other way? Little things, takes an hour. In episode 4, we were talking about all of that and getting into the details. How to space plan, to look at the why, the where, the when, the who, because that's one of the first questions, isn't it?
It can sound quite daunting, isn't it? Space planning, that kind of thing maybe conjures up a hell of a lot of work. It is, but it's if you do it at the start, you have a clear vision of what you need to do. Of course, don't think it's not going to be tweaked, because that does happen, but it gives you that sense of scaffolding for the rest of the project that you just need to be able to get through. So I think it's one of the most important things, isn't it? Space planning.
It avoids costly mistakes and actually stops you wasting your time. Consideration and thinking ahead and planning, even though sometimes I'm the first one to want to jump in and open the tin of paint and see what the colour is, doing all that groundwork will absolutely pay dividends. So we talk about all of that in episode 4, but also the big one is who's going to use the room? When are they going to use the room?
Absolutely. And I think look at the space you already have and plan it better. And that's where you can save yourself money, because you know how people extend houses and then they're like, oh, I spent money and it just didn't give me what I wanted. If you're extending, have a look at, see how you can make it better, because you might actually say, it's not going to give me enough, so I'm not going to do it. That's space planning, isn't it? So it's such a valuable tool in design, building, everything.
And it's so easy to do. You just get a piece of paper, graph paper's easier, a tape measure, draw it out to scale, and then measure the furniture. And if you're going to get a new sofa, measure that and make sure you can get it into the house and into the room.
I know it's painful, but it's like anything in life. You know, when you get through it, you'll be like, oh, well done me.
Yeah.
And just get someone you trust to, you know, hold the tape measure, and then you're fine.
Well, it's solid judgment then, isn't it? If you've done your due diligence, you've done your homework, you've looked at it from all angles going, you've taken a 360 and you've consulted with the professionals or everyone else is going to live with it, well, it's actually no way it can fail. If you've done all that work
Yeah,
at the front of the project, then the end result will be perfect.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You won't be looking around 100 sofas because probably 70% of them will be the wrong
Yeah.
size.
So you
So
know that before you even
your
start.
limiters, Sue. Do you know how we talk about limiters?
Do. I
Yeah.
know that, Debs. Limiters are good. They're like signposts to say, don't go this way, go that way, because this way is a dead end.
It's just honing you into the
Mm.
right result, which is just what everybody wants, isn't it? So
And then moving on to episode 5, I was talking to Martin Farrow, and that was such a treat. He was the person in professional interior design who gave me my first opportunity in a design studio, along with Conceptual at KCA International. And 20 odd years later, he's at the top of his game. He's a conceptual mastermind, and he's got a vast back catalogue of top class hotels, yachts, residential wonders under his belt. But they all start with a concept, a vision, don't they, that's evolved and developed. And what was lovely was to talk to him about where he finds his inspiration and then how to work with it and to move it forward into the end results that we see in 5-star hotels or amazing projects he's done. Where do you tend to get your conceptual inspiration from? Tricky question.
I don't know whether you realise where it's coming from. Do you ever feel like you're just a sponge of ideas? I always said that I could do it about 5 houses, need to win the lottery, but because the ideas are all washing around in my head of every kind of style. But I must admit, I think for my own home, that's definitely, it's a hard one because I could change it every week, and I know you could too. But for other people, I think you're inspired by them. If I was analysing how it happens, I think you are picking up on things in their home and then you pick up on them. And you know how we talk to people, so we get to know people, and you probably do pick up from other sources. But I think the conceptual idea is initially from the feel you get from the clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hotels that Martin would have done, you walk in and you're like, I love it. And we've talked about how the elements that they put in, absolute magpie moments where you take it and you go, oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
But we pick up on things like, the studding, the velvets and layers and textures. It's all like a lovely little story happening around you, isn't it? And it is a delight to walk into those spaces, don't you feel?
I do, because it's like a stuff of dreams. You want those wow moments, which actually you wouldn't have all over your own home. You might want a few. You do want things that make you go, oh, I love that. Obviously, we haven't got the scale generally in our homes that you've got in a hotel, but also he was talking about working in older buildings that are rich in architectural details. I found it fascinating to work with him on hotel design, but the way he develops things, and he's such an artist, he draws everything out by hand, just awe-inspiring to watch. So I absolutely agree. I think inspiration, your brain will be ticking away on something. You'll have seen it somewhere and it will cogitate and ruminate, and about 2 days later you'll be like, oh, I've got something. For me, I often draw it in Photoshop or to scale on elevation, just always to check it's going to work, because a lot of designs unfortunately can't fit into the spaces. Sometimes we have to say, let's try that in a different way, which is what you were saying about your designs will develop always from where you start to where you end up, and you've got to work it through. But seeing how he works is wonderful. So that is really interesting. If you like hotels, and we all do, just have a listen. It's fascinating.
I think it's amazing how nothing's a new idea. It's just maybe brought back in a different way. Or you couldn't actually pinpoint where ideas come from.
No.
Because we're influenced by everything around us.
Episode 6 was one of our most listened to podcasts, and it was all about how to define your personal style. And I think this is, very strongly linked to the superpower of interior design, isn't it? But just design for you. But to design for yourself, you've got to first of all figure out what makes you tick. And again, it goes back to, in COVID, people sat maybe for the first time in their adult lives and thought, well, what do I really like?
Yeah, you had time to think.
Yeah.
And I do think there's been a difference, even in fashion and everything. It seems like it's just everything's exploded and people have kind of gone, oh, yeah, I can be myself a little bit more. Um, but absolutely, look in your wardrobe and look at the colours you like, look at
Yeah.
things that you buy for yourself. That's a big pointer, isn't it? And that's kind of exciting in its own self because you're actually understanding you a bit more by doing your own home.
Yeah. You're not going to make an interior that's a bit of a cookie cutter of something you've seen in a magazine, and evolve that through, but you're not going to be disappointed if it is what you genuinely love. And it's finding that's quite hard to sometimes self-analyze like that.
Mm.
So that's what we're all about in episode 6 is take time, work it out. What colors do you love? What do you react to? What don't you like? Another signpost moment. Places you've been in the past that you yearn to go back to again, dig out the photographs, how those places make you feel. It's all about how it makes you feel. That episode had so much appreciation. It was wonderful.
Do you think it struck a chord because it was not just about your interior?
Mm,
It was understanding yourself
mm,
and how it links that psychology of
mm,
colours and how they affect you. And very importantly, like you said, we try to recreate things we've seen, but it might not work, and that was something to be careful of because you haven't got the same aspect. Why isn't it working for me? Or it's not giving me that same feeling. Why?
mm,
You have to understand all those things
mm.
so that you do personalize it and make it work for you.
Yeah.
You can see it when we walk into houses, can't we? We can see people have tried to inject their own personality, and it's usually, correct me if I'm wrong, one little cushion in a corner.
Yeah.
Going, oh, you actually do like colour or you do like patterns, but they've been too scared to extend that
Mm.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
where
It's
we
like
come
it's
in.
there, but it's whispering, not
It's kind of
shouting.
going, hello. But that's exciting in its own self.
That was a really interesting one. And it's again linked so strongly to episode 1, but also everything, all the episodes linked together because it's just getting you to have joy because, life is so short and
Yeah.
just do things, just bring the colour in, just bring the texture and the pattern and that slightly balmy lampshade that you found because if you love it, it just makes me so excited.
Don't you feel like don't question it too
Mm.
much
Mm.
because
Yeah.
I think your brain naturally moves into a state of questioning after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So this is why the hard sell is always quick, apparently. So in those first few minutes, you go, I love it. If it's not too expensive and if it's something you can change easily, go for it. Keep your receipt, bring it home, try it in situ.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is a psychological thing for it. You go into this moment of, oh no, I don't. I don't
Mm.
know. Unquestioning it.
Yeah.
So your initial reaction usually is a good one.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
again, and keep the receipt, take it back. I mean, and also, like we touched on this, is so many people doing interiors really well at the moment, like cushion covers and
Mm.
lampshades and such. All the high street shops like H&M, Zara Home, and they're not really pricey. So you can en masse change the feel of a room.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true, actually. And like I say, you can take it back. It's a bit
Yeah.
like when you buy a dress that you think, oh gosh, I shouldn't. And then you get it home and you're so pleased because it keeps popping into your head, doesn't it? It's like, I wish I'd got that. And you go back and it's gone.
You know what? You're so right. And you have to take it home and try it on with your shoes, accessories, and then you go, actually, you're staying. Whereas that's the same in cushions and covers and throws and everything. You get it back and you're going, well done, me, it fits in,
Yeah.
and I can keep it. You need to go for it to balance in the room.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And a tin of paint, come on, you can do that really easily. It just takes a bit of effort.
Yeah.
It's not much. And that's a huge changer, isn't it?
Well,
So,
funnily enough, Deborah, I'm just going to talk about episode 7, which was a masterclass from one of the most creative and adept colour magicians out there. So Dulux's creative director, Marianne Shillingford, and she gave us a beautiful description of her life working in colour and what it means to bring these into your life, and her language and the way she talks about colour and the effect it has on our emotions and what it can bring into our homes. It is magical. I mean, she's just such a positive, vibrant person, perfect for her job.
I think it's an inspiration to meet someone like that because they are the people that drive our passion for colour. I'm obviously a colour person. I like colour. And for me, I feel drained if there isn't a palette of colours around me. And paint companies like Dulux increase the variety. And it's funny because I've seen like the orange kitchen and things like that have been hinting of coming back. That's something from my youth. I remember those kind of orange colours and such. So everything does go in a cycle a bit. But I think that things have changed enough that it's like you don't have to sit in one sort of theme or style, which was going on for a long time, wasn't it, with interiors?
And really
so,
with paint, wasn't it? There was a particular few paint colours that were all pretty neutral that everyone felt was almost acceptable to go, oh, my living room is painted in this or that. And it's actually great to just push the boundaries. You know, looking at your room behind you, that is stunning. And it's celebrating the architectural details of your home. Whereas if that was all painted white or beige, dare I say, it would be a different space. Whereas walk in there and you're like, wow. So
I think it's almost like, you know, dressing for the occasion. It's like putting a 6'2" rugby player in a tiny mini dress. It's just going to ask questions, aren't you? You need to, you need to have, you need to go with the space and celebrate it. And that is the freedom I think we've got, because I remember, you know, all our walls were beige, cream, beige, and that was fine. That was of the era. But it's exciting because I feel in my lifetime I've seen an absolute rainbow explosion of colour. Any colour you could dream of now you can have, and you can colour match, which is quite exciting because that's where the individualism comes from, isn't it?
yeah.
Because you can be whatever you want to be, and you can have a unique colour for you.
But what was really interesting in talking to Mariana was about the way that you can recycle paints these days. A lot of them are water-based. In fact, most of them are now water-based instead of, and also the fact that they're making paint for pretty much every surface. So if you've got kitchen cabinets at home, you don't need to change them for new ones. You can paint them and they will give you another lifetime of wear. So it was really fascinating to see how paint production has changed, because obviously an environmental aspect to it, which they are very aware of, and they're very forward thinking in how to, if you're going to go to the local tip and you have a few tins of paint, they can take them into their recycling process, or they can pass them on to colleges or even artists to use up the dregs of that tin. You know, do not tip it down the drain or just stuff it in a black bin bag. Really, honestly, everything can be used in a fantastic way. So actually, having been in this business for such a long time, it was like going back to school for the day, all the things that you can now do with paint and how to use the last bits of paint in the tin.
It's exciting, isn't it? It's a kind of a freedom. It comes back to the hand buying as well. So if something's slightly shabby, you can paint it, you can make it have another life, which it all makes sense. Just paint's making sense of these kind of moments, actually. So you could change your whole feel without having to replace anything, which makes sense environmentally and financially.
Moving on to episode 8 and 9, this was our house clinic Q&A session, and we had lots and lots of questions to choose from, and we're definitely going to do that again in season 2, aren't we? Because there were so many questions that we haven't even touched on, but we covered everything from nosy neighbours in London looking through your windows to how many cushions is too many cushions. The more specific your questions are, send photographs of the problem areas, and we're really happy to help and unpick all that, aren't we?
I think we're more than interior design, we're interior design problem solvers, because that's a lot of the time, isn't it? The interior design is the fun, fabulous bit, but it's any issues or any problems that happen that we can just go, this is what you need to do. This is how you sort it out. This is an option A. This is an option B. I really enjoyed the Q&A. I thought that was really good fun.
Episode 10 was a treat, with a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the process of designing beautiful 5-star hotels with the magnificent Melissa Morgan, who is at the top of the tree in design, and rightly so. And I did work with her 20 odd years ago in a couple of different design studios in London, and she's gone on, like I have now, to have her own interior design studio called Melissa Morgan Interiors. But Melissa's done some beautiful hotels that you'll be well aware of. Langham in London was one of them. It's really interesting just to talk about the life of an interior designer for hotels. It doesn't just all land there. So much thought and attention goes into it, which is rightly so. So have a listen to that if you're at all interested in how hotels are put together from scratch. And then episode 11, bringing it all to a clean and clear level, we tackled how to declutter to bring harmony and how important that is to your brain.
I think we're still all working on that, aren't we? Decluttering. But everybody has, like we said, the moniker covered or the room of doom. And it is, again, it's a bit like everything. Just take it a piece at a time. Start with a small win and it'll help you, build up to the bigger and probably more overwhelming obstacles that you have.
We all probably know, don't we? We all know what we need to do. And sometimes I open a cupboard and go, I've got 25 vases, some of which are, not ever used. You just think, I'll get around to that one day. But as you said, maybe breaking those down into that's a level 1 job, that's a level 5 job where I'm going to need a couple of gin and tonics to see me through and a good friend to hold my hand and be honest and say, are you ever going to use that again? Honestly, the freedom you do get when you've sorted out an area feels good, doesn't it? It feels really,
like your
really
sock
good.
drawer. Once that's organised, you're like, I would like a pair of trainer socks. Start small and build up to it.
And get someone to do it with you because it's a bit soul destroying on your own. Or actually, sometimes the other way around, you might not want someone stood over you going, no, don't get rid of that because I used that back in 1978. Decluttering lets your design sing. That's why we're talking about it in so much detail in episode 11, because it really is a game changer. So we're have a quick chat about current projects. Have you done anything recently that you want to sort of share or something that's on the horizon for you?
I'm probably still on the decluttering at the moment. So then I can see the wood for the trees, Sue.
The unexciting part, but the groundwork, which is important, as we were saying earlier.
Absolutely. There's no point starting on the next project without having a cleared space, get rid of the old. Well, I know you've been a busy girl with quite a big project, actually.
Well, I was. Well, it sort of turned into a huge project in the end because it was just meant to be a little bit of a sort of zhuzh of the garden. But then I found a paint which went against my first instincts. It was like a light green, almost like a minty green. And I had dark brown fences before that had weathered not very well. And it was well overdue after 3 coats. They looked amazing now because suddenly the dark corners are not dark corners. Real game changer. I had a huge bush in the corner and I sort of trimmed up the bottom branches, which were all a bit spindly anyway. So it's made it look like a sort of topiary tree. So it's got the light into a very dark corner and I've been able to plant lots of lovely flowers. So painting this light green colour behind all the plants has really made them pop, makes the garden feel like a room now. So I'm beyond pleased with it. In fact, it's really turned out to be quite a massive makeover for the house and garden. And I'm glad I've got it done.
I mean, I popped round this week and I was just like, wow, you've claimed it. It's almost like you've claimed the garden to be that extension of the home. It's that colour. We talked about colour makes such a difference and make it feel brighter, lighter and more enticing.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed with it. It's the best it's ever looked. And I was a little bit nervous about putting that paint because I think there was a bit of a snobbery of garden paint fence colours going on, or I was aware of, you should do this and you shouldn't do that. And actually that sort of like almost like French grey green, the light green, wasn't fashionable so much as some of the other colours might have been. I absolutely loved it. So I'm really pleased I followed my instinct. And then actually this week, I've got the chap coming to take out some of the sleepers and open up a bit of a space, which is a very narrow area, which you can't even plant anything useful in. And it's sometimes the way, isn't it? I've lived with that, as I say, for 12 years. And then thinking, well, why is it like that? I actually can do something and make that a better place to have I'd love a little lean-to glass house thing where I can grow some tomatoes and I'm clearly getting quite old now. I want to.
No, but that's the thing, it's evolving with you, but it's also making the most of what you've already got, really.
Yeah.
You didn't change anything in the way of the garden was all there. It was
Yeah.
a bit of paint, really. That
Yes.
was the difference. And that's
Yeah.
the same interior, exterior, everywhere. Don't just stop inside, look outside and see. Because
Definitely.
now when you look outside, it's a connection, isn't it? There's a
Yeah.
connection between the two areas. So,
Well,
yeah.
now I'm going to go forward and get some lighting put in because I want to see the garden more. I want to see it at night. So I've got a couple of mature-ish trees. I'm going to just get them lit at night from below because I think that always looks beautiful. And
Oh,
why does that
lovely,
have
yeah.
to just be in a park or in a fancy pants hotel? Actually, why can I not do that? So I need to get my wonderful electrician to come and put the electrics in for me. And that's inspired me to do that just because I've actually fallen back in love with the space. Lighting makes it a 3D space again, which is really exciting and relatively inexpensive to do that.
There wasn't any sort of major structural change, but I think it's made a huge difference. Even though the
Yeah.
garden was lovely before, it's suddenly kind of sprung to life.
Yeah, I'm really
Wonderful,
pleased with that. Yeah.
successful project.
Yeah, really worth it. Was hours and hours and hours. So literally it was just tins and tins of garden paint and our time. And actually it was nice to be out there because it's a mindful sort of job. Whilst you're painting, you start thinking all those little seeds of inspiration you've got from something else suddenly spring to life because you've got time, but you still feel like you're doing something useful. So you don't feel guilt. It's not like I was sitting around doing nothing. I was actually doing a
Yeah.
physical job that was allowing me time to think or listen to music. So it's actually really cool, really.
Sometimes we have to roll up our sleeves and, get on board just so that you get the task done.
And then the other things I've done recently, I was very excited to discover a lovely company that I'd seen in the US a lot, had a most amazing showroom in the UK. And I took a client along last week to this place. It's a stately home in Oxfordshire called Aynhoe Park, Aynhoe Park. And it was just an incredible space, and to see the reaction you get from a client when they see something that speaks to them was wonderful. I remember I did a client visit down to Chelsea Harbour with a lovely lady called Lisa a couple of years ago. And because we were doing the whole house, it was, like, where do we start in some respects? And I just wanted to see her reaction to the things I was putting in front of her. And that really shaped the project. Even though we only maybe found 3 or 4 things and we needed to find 500, just those few things that set her world on fire that we put in, that she got really excited about. One of them was a Cole and Son wallpaper in the lounge. But those sorts of things that were just quite strong in style, a real sort of direction that she didn't know she loved until she saw it. Well, I think that's it.
Gosh, that's a wrap, as they say.
It's a wrap. It is, and it's a bit sad, but we're going to be back in the autumn. So I want to say a huge thank you to Debs for joining me on lots and lots of episodes, and to all the brilliant guests who brought their insight and experience, and to you for listening and for getting us hooked on design as we are. Please do continue to support us. Share the podcast links if you can. Love to have your feedback, and please do send in more questions because, as we say, we'll definitely be featuring a Q&A house clinic in season 2 as well. Can't wait to bring you even more conversations with designers, makers, and the thinkers that are shaping interiors in the future. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you later on in the year. Do get in touch at contact@allaboutdesign.online. Until season 2 returns in the autumn, remember, great interiors don't just look good, they feel good, they function beautifully, and they should tell your story. So we'll see you soon. Take care.